Hi guys, so we're living in a very dynamic time right now. Nurses and healthcare professionals have had a shortage of hours. We have been furloughed, some laid off due to just low census with everything going on related to COVID. So today we're going to talk about 7 things that you can do today to organize your finances. Let's jump right in. So the first thing that I want you to do starts with a slight mind shift. So I want you to start thinking of money in terms of hours worked. So when you start to think, okay, I'm going to buy this new jacket or this new purse or shoes or whatever it is, if you start to then think about, well, how many hours of my life did I trade to go to work to pay for this item? I think it just changes the way in which you reason and process with all of your purchases. So I'm all about, buying things that bring you value and bring you joy, but I really challenge you to start equating it with hours of your life worked, and it will change the way that you look at your purchases. So number 2, get your accounts in order. What I mean by that is that there is no reason why you should be paying any banking fees. So things like transfer fees, a monthly banking fee, some places will even offer free checks. So take a look at your statements and see if any of these kinds of fees are being deducted from your bank statements. And if they are, then what I would do is I would highly recommend shopping around, or you can even call up your current provider and negotiate with them. See what they can do, or tell them you might just take your business elsewhere. I would highly recommend looking into credit unions. They are great. They offer lots of free amenities. So that's number 2. So number 3, negotiate the APRs of your credit cards. So a lot of people, actually more than you think, don't even know the actual APR that they currently have with their credit cards. So first I would figure that out. Second, I would start to look around. What is the going rate for the APRs right now? And then I would go ahead and call up your current credit card company, see if they are willing to negotiate you. And if they're not, you can start shopping around and see who else is willing to offer you an even better deal. The other thing I would do is also figure out if you continue to pay your current credit card at the same rate that you've been. I want to know what is your payoff date. Many people don't know that. So let's say, for example, you're paying the minimum payment, which actually many Americans do. When would you actually be done paying off this credit card? When you start to write these numbers down, it is so eye-opening, and it completely changes your perspective on, or maybe even motivation to try to pay these things off, or these credit cards off, even early. So number 4 is figure out your total amount of debt. Now, I know this may seem super obvious, but you would be surprised that some people just don't know that, and that's okay. There's no shame. But just take a moment, write it all down, tally it all up, and then once you have that total amount of debt established, then what I would do is decide if you're going to either do a debt snowball or a debt avalanche. A debt snowball is where you pay off the smallest debt first. And then what you do is you use that same amount you were paying towards that smallest debt and roll it over to your next debt, and so on and so forth until you're done paying off all your debts. The debt avalanche is when you attack the debt with the higher amount of interest first. It really is a personal choice. If you do that, if you choose to do a debt avalanche, you may not be paying off your smallest debt first, but you may find comfort in knowing that you are paying, you are going to get rid of that debt with the highest amount of interest quicker. So either way, I always say that whatever brings you the most peace and whatever is the best for you is the best decision, the one that you're actually going to stick with. So number 5 is get on a budget. Now, really quick, I just want to say, before I actually started budgeting, the actual word budget had a completely terrible negative connotation to it. So I would encourage you not to judge until you actually try it and see what you think. But whether you call it a budget, whether you call it a spending plan, the bottom line is that you have to know, in order to figure out where you want your money to go, you have to know where it's already going. And until you have it written down on pen, with pen and paper or in an app or however you want to do it, you won't have that financial clarity. So I'd highly recommend getting on a budget, spending plan, whatever you want to call it, and then we can move on from there. Number 6 is to establish an emergency plan. So we all know that emergencies happen, that life happens, unexpected things come up all the time. The question is, how are you going to deal with them? So, I recommend figuring out what is my plan when these emergencies happen. So whether it's having your short-term savings, long-term savings, I'm going to dedicate a whole other video to having an emergency plan, just because I feel like there's so many different elements to this. But just start thinking about it, whether you just even start by saving $3,000 to $5,000 and just have that there in case your washer and dryer break down, or your car breaks down, or you have something happen with the house that absolutely has to be repaired. I just believe that when you have an emergency plan, it turns what could be a crisis into just an inconvenience. So number 6 is establish your emergency plan. Number 7 is finding out about retirement. So, all healthcare professionals, everyone, we work so hard and we want to be able to retire with dignity. Well, in order to do that, we have to start planning now. So a couple of things that I would start looking into. If you haven't already established retirement accounts, I would see what kind of an account does your employer offer. And in addition to that, I would also figure out what is the employer match. Because essentially, if you aren't taking advantage of your employer match to your retirement account, you're losing out on free money. I'll talk in another video about retirement and about the employer match, but just start by calling up your HR and saying, asking those 2 questions. The other thing I would think about is I would consider looking at a retirement calculator. Vanguard has a really, really great one. Just Google Vanguard retirement calculator to figure out how much you actually need in order to retire. I feel like the best retirement plan is one that's started as soon as you can. So if you start today, even if it's just finding out this information, I feel like it's motivating and it's encouraging just to get started. I hope you enjoyed my video on the 7 things that you can do to get organized with your finances. If you like this video, please be sure to subscribe, as I will be posting new videos about just living a great life within your means and how to achieve financial freedom. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.